had another cold snap here. It's been very windy the last couple of days, and so it might be a day I'll stay in today for the most part.
Yeah, it's sunny here and about 58 degrees right now.
It's been, especially like on a motorcycle, the wind chill is what you really feel.
Yeah.
No, it gets down. I mean, it's like if you're in a car like at 45, 50 degrees and stick your head out the window or your arm, you get a pretty good blast of cold. So that's something I have to factor in. I wear gear all the time, and I can bundle up, but I think I'll probably just stay inside today.
Yeah, I can understand.
After my experience Thursday when I went to Charlotte, it took me about 5 hours to get home.
Oh.
The traffic jams and the wrecks. That's why I missed the Thursday. I'd much rather been online than that was driving me stir crazy. I sat for 1 hour on the interstate, did not move.
That happened to me in Texas last week. It took me an hour to go about a mile. So.
But that's Thursday. I went down there to a motorcycle dealership to get some parts. Charlotte is the only Aprilia dealer in North Carolina. I actually said Matthews, which is down the farther end. So I was only a couple miles from the state line, South Carolina.
Right.
And they strategically have 2 spirit stores located right on the border. One's called Frugal McDougal, and the other one's called Southern Spirits. And so after I got finished at the dealership, I said, I'll just hop on down there, and that's where I got that Kentucky Dale, $2.99 for a $3.75 bottle.
Golly.
And while I was there, they had Old Crow for $8.99.
Yeah.
Said, look, I've been thinking about that for so long, damn it, I'm just going ahead and get it.
That's a standard price. That's a standard price. A little echo here. That's a standard price for the 750 milliliter glass bottle.
And the Southern Spirits, the guy in there, the operator of the store, was very knowledgeable about the spirits industry. I was talking to him, and he was one step ahead of me the whole way. He knew exactly what I was talking about. And he made some recommendations to me, and I got a mini bottle of Cooper's Craft.
Oh, that's a new, the new one from Brown Foreman, right?
He gave it high recommendation. He said, try this. And I went over and looked at it, and it's $31 for a $7.50 bottle. And their cheap prices were cheap. So he said, try this after you've drunk this bottom shelf stuff and just see the difference. He said, you'll notice the difference. And they also had the mini bottles of Early Times, 2 for $1.50. So I got 2 minis, and I got a mini of Southern Comfort.
Boy. I saw a billboard in New Orleans on Mardi Gras Day earlier this week for that Cooper's Craft.
And he said it was, and he was like, he gave me 3 recommendations for the best bang for the buck. We'll call them value bourbons. He said number 3 was Ancient Age.
Oh, okay, I have that.
Number 2 was Henry McKenna.
Haven't heard of that one.
His top pick was Very Old Barton.
I've heard of it, but I've not ever seen it.
He said, if you can't get one, and they were sold out of Very Old Barton at this place, and they have a huge inventory of stuff. And they have their other side of the building is beer. I saw Schlitz in bottles.
Oh, can't get that here anymore.
It was outdated, and I didn't get it. Had it been within date, I'd have snapped up a 6-pack of bottles. I was shocked to see it in there.
Now today we're examining something mine is out of a can, and it's called Pacifico Clara.
That format is new.
Right.
It was only introduced not long ago.
And you have the can as well? You also have the can, right?
24-ounce can, which became available about a year ago in the United States.
That's right. I'll be right back. Go and put the rest in the fridge. Now, I'm looking at the Crown Imports website, and they're saying there's about 3 websites for this beer, maybe more. They're saying And like you always say, you drink in the history more than the product.
Yeah, I spent about 10 minutes this morning and found a whole bunch of information. Their website is really good. So I found out a lot more about this brand than I ever, just a few minutes. And I said, man, I already know pretty much about this beer. So it's
4.5, I'm sorry, 4.4% alcohol. It has 145 calories. It's made.
they even give you IBUs.
Not, where did you see that? Because I don't see that on the Crown Imports website.
It's on the Discover Pacifico website. 18 IBUs.
18. I thought it seemed a little more bitter than normal. It says made with filtered water, malted barley, hops, corn, and yeast.
The corn is grits. I learned that from another website. At the Nava Brewery, which is the largest in the world of its kind.
And they use grits.
They use grits. They have a huge cereal cooker. When I say huge, I mean huge.
Like much bigger than people would imagine.
Yeah, when you think cereal cooker, yeah, it's
They said this beer was established by German immigrants in Mexico in 1900, the last year of the 19th century. And they're saying it was acquired by Grupo Modelo in 1954, and its unique packaging and distinctive taste made Pacifico a popular choice with American surfers who brought it into the USA. And in 1985, Grupo Modelo began exporting Pacifico to the United States. So we've been getting it for 32 years, and we can get it in 4 package sizes according to their website, Discover Pacifico, 12-ounce bottles, quart bottles, the 24-ounce can, and on draft. Let's see. You said something about the IBUs. They said it got popular because California.
They were the original unofficial importers of the beer because they went across and they bringing it back, and it got very popular on the West Coast, and gradually it's available now in all 50 states, and the cans are available in 35 states, which were rolled out recently.
Yeah, they said the surfers would go to Baja California, and then they would buy it and bring it back. Okay, 18 IBUs. I see that. Does Pacifico contain gluten? And it says, we recommend you consult your physician.
That is a lawyer speak. CYA on that one, I think.
All right. Well, have you had this before?
I have not.
It's been in Louisiana, I guess, 10 years, maybe 12 years. I don't think it's been too long. The original Mexican beers we got was, of course, Corona Extra. Then you started seeing a little bit of Dos Equis. Then that got bigger and bigger once Heineken got involved with it. And then Pacifico showed itself, and then, of course, Tecate, and then now it's proliferated. We may as well examine it. I did a solo video that I recorded. I'll post it sometime down the road of the can version. I've had the bottle version a few times. It's in brown bottles. I've only seen around here the 12-ounce brown bottles.
I saw a 12-pack where I bought my single. They had a 12-pack of cans. Bottles.
Yes, I've seen 12 packs in those cardboard.
But you talk about packaging. The yellow really caught my eye. Those who have done research say white and yellow are the 2 most conspicuous colors to the human eye. Although people say like red. The old joke used to be, my car is a Rest Me Red. That's the color because it would garner the attention of law enforcement, especially if you had like a Ferrari or a sports car. But those white and yellow are the 2 most conspicuous colors, and it did catch my eye. The can, I think the can looks really sharp. The gold lettering against the yellow can, and then the graphic in the center.
Yeah, the life buoy.
Yeah,
and the the lifesaver and the mountain in the background, and the anchor, and then you have the barley and the hops. So packaging is important because, like they say, perception is.
I think it's a smart looking can. It catches your eye, but it's not. They're not trying to do something edgy just to be for edgy's sake.
Yeah, so and it's not busy, and it's not, and it comes across classy, not stupid.
they say if something gets too cluttered, there's no space for it to breathe. Like sometimes they use that term in music. You're not allowing it to breathe. This can has some space. It has some, I just like the looks of it. It has some symmetry. That's what I was trying to say.
Right. Well, I guess you better pop open the can. I've already popped open mine. A lot of nice lacing.
Yeah, I'm going to pour mine in the kitchen. I have some trouble with sometimes these tricky 24 ounces.
Yeah.
So I feel better pouring it. I have a little more space, but I'll take a second.
Okay, I'll describe mine while you're out there doing it. I didn't have any spill problems. It's golden more than straw. There is noticeable sediment throughout. Small sediment, but it's there, white chunks. It's not the most super filtered beer ever. Pretty aggressive ascending bubbles. And the lacing. If you've had Corona Extra, think about a Corona Extra that has more body and a higher bitterness level and a higher a higher grassy, much more bold grassy notes coming from those hops. Now, I'm not here to disparage Corona Extra because I drank that back in the 1990s, mid 90s, when we would go out after work on Fridays, as teachers, and we would go to Bertha's. That's no longer in business, hasn't been for a long time, but it was a Mexican restaurant, and they would put the lime in the bottle, which I didn't question it, so it was part of it. But I always enjoyed Corona, and then later I found out that I wasn't supposed to like it. And that also has a very smart and attractive label. Pacifico I encountered later, started to drink it, was very pleased with it. In fact, more pleased with it than the Corona Extra. And I can see why Grupo Modelo wanted to acquire it 63 years ago, because it has a lot of upside and very little downside. There's William. Okay.
One thing I found out about this, similar to the chiladas, the head receded very rapidly. It was highly carbonated, but the head had no lasting impact at all.
Okay, now I have some comments. Matthew says, good morning, Jay. Good morning, Matthew. Retro Burger Chef. I ate at Burger Chef before. I think the last time I ate at Burger Chef was about 1974 in Lafourche Parish on State Highway 1. And but that's gone. That was bought out by Hardee's. And the last Burger Chef branded restaurant closed 21 years ago, from what I understand. They've all been converted to Hardee's. Okay, anyway, Joshua Martell says, I appreciate the extra dimensions you lend to beer reviews. You're both fantastic. Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate you watching. Ronnie S says, hey, yo. And I'll say, hey, yo, back to you. Dean's over in Great Britain, England, to be specific. They sell it over here in a 3-pack at Asda, which is their version of Walmart, I believe. Huh, a 3-pack. Huh. Ronnie says, good morning from New York. Well, good morning from Louisiana. Red Martian 96. Hello, I don't recall seeing you before, so thanks for joining us. My favorite beer reviews on YouTube. Thanks so much. Your shirt for the Carlo Rossi Burgundy wine review was cool. Yeah, I've had that shirt for a long time, and I should buy some more shirts of that style, I think. Okay, so I was kind of describing it, William, before you sat back down, so you can kind of go back to what you were saying. Talking about the head.
Yeah, I think it has a pretty nice malt impact to it.
I got a lot of lacing on this Pilsner glass. Yeah, malt.
And a little bit more of a hot bite at the end than a lot of the AALs, which is basically what this is. It's just a premium priced AAL.
And most of them are around 12 IBUs, and this is 18, so you get relatively higher.
It is a little bit more. And, but I noticed it did. I like this, even though these are for the ABV, it's got a pretty nice malt presence to it, which I like. And it's cool, crisp, clean, refreshing, like, as it should be if it's brewed properly. So it's it's not bad.
No, I think the price is a little was something that would deter me from buying it regularly. because I can get Miller High Life or Milwaukee's Best much cheaper. Now, I'll admit those two beers are not as good as this. That grassy hop note really adds to it. But that's a trade-off, you know, you trade price for quality and all that.
Yeah, this can I got was $2.69 for the 24-ounce can. You can get a 24-ounce can of some of them for $1.29 and such. So it is at the premium price.
Yeah, mine was it's $2.99 around here. I bought it in Texas for $2.59. That's when I jumped on it. I said, well, $2.59 is a much better price. It doesn't have this sweet syrupiness so much like the High Life and the Milwaukee's Best. And I think that goes back to what you were saying. They're making it with the corn grits. And that seems to make a difference.
Yeah. Not surprisingly, one of my favorite, I like the Genesee products. They use grits too.
Mm.
And it does have a, you know, it isn't overly corny, the taste in it.
No.
You know, that malt lends it some balance, and it's highly carbonated, although my head receded pretty rapidly. And like I said, the only qualm I would have about it actually is the price.
Yeah, the body's medium, and like you said, the finish is crisp, but all the way through the sip, I always think about this when I talk about Pacifico. It's got that hop note, top to bottom. It's like grassy bitterness, and it's got a pleasant corn tortilla flavor, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, it's not the musty, grainy thing you can get like on a beer that's like maybe getting aged somewhat. And surprisingly, this reminds me a little bit of the hams I've been drinking, which has a pretty nice hop note that runs through it. The hams is more like, I noticed the hams has a little lemony citrus flavor that runs through the hoppiness in it. So this is, you know, I can draw some correlation between these two, which I've been enjoying that hams like crazy. $9.99 for a 24-pack of beer.
Sadly, we're not able to get hams in Louisiana. Now, somebody said morning drinking. Yeah, I do that, but I wake up so early that your morning is my afternoon in some ways. It says, I wish I could have a beer, but I'm on my way to work. Rodney says, yeah, well, that'd be a good idea not to get into that. Bart, hey, Bart, good morning, fellas. Just bought 2 cans of these for $3 outside of Philadelphia the other day. Nice to see you reviewing it. Cheers. Nice to see you. I also saw the 3-packs. I have not seen those, but you know what? I have to take that back. I've seen the Budweiser 3-packs and Bud Light, but I haven't seen, I don't recall any Mexican 3-packs. Red Martian says, what style of shirt was that, by the way? I think that was what they call daishiki. That was popular around 1971 with different people and the Black Power movement and all that stuff. And then once they started selling it at Sears, then it wasn't hip to wear that anymore. And so it very quickly was not seen. You didn't see Carlos Santana wearing stuff like that anymore, or Jesse Jackson wearing that anymore real quick. But in 1969 to 71, you'd see Jesse Jackson wearing that. Bart says, correction, 2 cans for $3.50. Oh, $3.50 a piece or $3.50 total? Because if it's $3.50 total, that's a deal. High Life is the best for price, Jake says. Yeah, well, even Milwaukee's Best lager beats that in price, which is why I have a bunch in my refrigerator. Do I adore Milwaukee's Best lager? No. But does it serve its purpose? Yes.
I actually prefer the Best lager a little bit over the Miller High Life. I think it doesn't have that cereal, that cooked vegetable aspect to it. Plus a little bit, sometimes with Miller High Life, I notice a little oiliness at the finish. And I think the Milwaukee's Best lager has largely avoided those characteristics, so to speak. So I like it.
I agree. And I think the genuine draft seems to eliminate a lot of the deficits of High Life, but you're going to pay about 30% more for genuine draft in most cases. Well, that makes sense because you're getting a better product. You're getting a Miller High Life unpasteurized, and something about that pasteurization, it deteriorates the beer. I have to give Miller credit though. If you go on a brewery tour at Miller High Life at the Miller Brewery, they'll tell you up front that pasteurizing the beer damages it. So they're sitting there, they're telling you that they're putting beers on the market that are damaged, but it's the only way to keep them from spoiling.
One thing I would like to say is a thumbs up to Constellation Brands for their website. They have a chart that lists the date code. It explains everything. Mine is J156. J is the 10th month of the year, which is October. The day is 15. And the rest of the numbers are like production codes. And that tells you the brewery is Nava, which has a capacity of 20 million hectoliters a year. I looked up hectoliters this morning. A hectoliter is 100 liters or 26.4 gallons. So when I tried to add up on my calculator, it started smoking from it short-circuited because the numbers got so high. But needless to say, they produce a huge amount of beer in that Nava facility. It's amazing.
And it's right on the Texas border, so it's a maquiladora.
And it's so automated that I think, that it's much more efficient than the Grupo Modelo ones that are operating in Mexico, which is interesting because this is a split-owned brand because of an antitrust settlement.
Right.
When AB InBev swallowed up Grupo Modelo, Constellation Brands stepped in and got the American rights to distribute this beer. And they brew their own version of it, which is separate from Grupo in Mexico at the Nava Brewery. So just another story of beers. Take a lot of sidetracks in the story. If you're interested in that, there's a lot of history about these things.
Yeah, and Constellation Brands handles all of these Grupo Modelo beers as far as importing them into the United States and marketing them. So that's a whole nother argument that makes you wonder if antitrust laws were designed all along to help politicians get kickbacks.
And they actually are brewing their own versions of these beers. So how they differ from the Grupo Modelo, I don't know, but they are their own versions. I assume they're very similar.
Talking about in Nava?
Yeah, it is a separate. This is Constellation's version of the beer, not Grupo Modelo. So it's just, it's like I say, it's a split ownership, but it's just fascinating when you start to dig behind the stories of these beers.
So they have the Nava Brewery in Mexico, right on the Texas border, and Constellation Brands runs that brewery. They produce all the Grupo Modelo brands and bring them into the United States.
And Constellation Brands announced in January 2016 that they are building a new brewery in Mexicali, Mexico, which will be 10 million hectoliters. So I think it's safe to say that Constellation Brands is a company on the move in the spirits and liquor industry, just say the adult beverage industry. I mean, they're very aggressive. They know they've got a great product here, as far as it. I mean, some brands are, not doing that well, but they seem to be flourishing in the marketplace right now.
Oh, I mean, if you look on the Constellation Brands website, it's mind-boggling.
They purchased Ballast Point in December 15, and they're also heavily into premium wines.
And cheap wines, too.
But they sold off their cheap liquors to Sazerac.
Oh, yes.
Some years ago.
Sazerac has a major footprint in the cheap liquors. And, we were talking about that at the beginning, but those cheap liquors, we can make fun of them all day long, but there is major money in that stuff. Things like you said, Kentucky Dale and Kentucky Gentleman, and a couple of those cheap gins I got in the freezer. The amount of money that those things generate is incredible. So we might laugh and ridicule it, but they're laughing because they cash in those checks every month that are beyond our conception. Right?
They get the last laugh, so to speak.
Right. I was at a grocery store. I'll give you an example. I was at a grocery store and they were talking about Taylor wines, which is a Constellation brand wine from New York. And the distributor laughed like, Taylor wine. Ah, ha, ha. I said, well, are you saying that it's bad? He said, "Ah, it's cheap." I said, "What about it though?" "Oh," he said, "it's a major part of our portfolio. We got to have it." He said, "We sell so many cases a week. It's unbelievable." So he's ridiculing it, but at the same time, he can't afford to have it not be on that shelf.
This one is holding, the flavor's holding very well. I had mine in the freezer for just a few minutes, and you can the maltiness is coming a little bit more to the forefront as it warms a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's actually got a little more flavor than it had before. So
yeah, when you warm it up a little bit, it kind of develops. Now I'm going to show you here. I'm looking on Constellation Brands website. Here's a few of their wines. And I don't know much about wine. They've got Kim Crawford, Charles Smith, Black Box, and there's 5 pages of it in alphabetical order. Vendage, Woodbridge, Wild Horse, Tom Gore, VNO. There's a bunch of South American wines, and then there's additional U.S. wines. Three Blind Moose, Besiege, Hayman and Hill, Hidden Crust, Jailbreak, and it goes on. And then if you click on beer, they've got Ballast Point, Corona, Modelo, Corona Light. What we're drinking today, Pacifico, Modelo, Modelo Chelada, Victoria, Tocayo, and I don't even know what Tocayo is. Tocayo Hominy White Ale. Hominy. Okay, so that means grits. And then there's spirits. Casa Noble, High West, Svedka Vodka, Black Velvet, Serpent's Bite, Paul Masson Brandy, and then additional spirits, McMaster's Canadian Whiskey, McNaughton Canadian Whiskey, and then they also produce things that help the homeless shelters stay open. And I'm not saying that to be ugly, but things like Irish Rose. But these people are raking in money that is just incredible. Okay, back to Pacifico. I get onto these websites and it just like pulls you in, you know. I really like this Pacifico beer. What do you think about it? I'd buy it again.
I don't understand the beer advocate. 63 and a 55. I mean, I think it's better than that.
63 out of 100.
The Bros gave it a 55. I think the regular scores were 63.
And they're just saying it's pretty disgusting.
Awful or poor. If it's in the 50s, I think it's awful. If it's in the 60 range, it's poor. So any way you slice it, they don't like it. But you know, I take the first sip of it, and I said I liked it. Like I said, it had some malt character to it, and I mean, it's not world class, but I don't think it's awful either.
It's far from awful.
I'm actually surprised. I think it's much better than I had a Corona recently, the first one I'd ever had. I think this is quite a bit better. It's got more flavor.
Yeah, and I'm not a hater of Corona now. I like Corona, but this one is much more bountiful in the flavor and the aroma.
Corona is like the Bud Light of the Mexican beers. It's just a high profile, high advertising. A lot of people will grab the Corona. It's the Pavlov's dog. You know, they just by impulse buy it.
Yeah, you're right. It's too bad we can't get Pacifico Light here. I guess we're not missing much, but I mean, I'd still try it. Let me go get some more of it. I went to Shiner, Texas last week. I did not go to the brewery because my timelines got messed up by the dang interstate being shut down for an hour, right? But if you go to Shiner, Texas, and you stop at a convenience store that sells beer, which is every convenience store, they're going to have a large number of Shiner products that you're not going to see other places. So I bought I think they're 25-ounce bottles of 2 Shiner beers I've not seen before, Berliner Weisse and a Winter Warmer. So I couldn't resist. I had to buy them. You know what rate beer's given Pacifico Clara? A 4 out of 100.
What? So that means that 96% of the beers are better.
A 4 out of 100.
That's a 4. Oh, but they tell you one thing about rate beers. I actually read their guidelines.
Yeah.
They don't take style in consideration. They say that rate beers by style is like a dog show. They said they don't care. We just want to know what the best beers are. Or the Beer Advocate does take style into consideration somewhat. So that may skew the ratings between those two somewhat. But anyway, you slice it between those two, this beer is not, it's not a 4, it's not a 55. I don't, but it's all subjective. So just try it yourself if you like it. If you don't, I mean, it's no big deal.
All right, try it. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, you have only wasted a little bit of money. It's no great tragedy. Buy
one of these, drink it beside of what you normally drink.
Good point.
Just try it. That's what I've done with many things. You don't even have to do a blind taste test. If you're of an open mind, you can just sit down and drink 2 beers, and your palate will tell you which one's the better one.
Right.
And if it happens to be cheaper and you like it better, that's all the greater. But it's not rocket science. But do consider other brands than what you drink. I know the old saying is people don't know what they like what they know. It's a comfort zone. But you might be missing out on a lot of things that you would like.
You talked about Ballast Point. I saw some commentary on some Facebook groups. When Ballast Point was bought out by Constellation Brands, they had people saying they would never drink it again. They would never drink it again because it had been bought out.
Yeah.
Because it was now a mass-produced product.
It would be beneath them to drink something like that now because the man owns it now.
Right, but do they only drive a handmade car?
Yes.
Do they only eat handmade food?
That iPhone they have is probably mass-produced.
They're using an iPhone.
Right.
They probably play video games that are not handmade or hand-developed.
Their high-definition TV was probably not hand-built. So,
no. Oh, well.
So on and so on. I mean, you can tear that argument apart very easily, but, it's if I like something, I like it.
Right.
That's the bottom line for me. I don't have to agree with every position of a corporate company or whatever. If I like it, I'll buy it.
Right. Hey, Ron, Bumps from Milwaukee. Hey, Kyle. And I think a lot of this stuff that corporations do where they're advocating for certain social change and whatnot, a lot of that is done by the company to give themselves an argument when they're being sued for civil rights violations, because they know that they really just want to put out, the company, they just want to put out a product and sell it. Right. But then there's people cruising around looking for a case. You know this. And civil rights, and I don't want to get on to too much touchy stuff, but I know what I'm talking about, I think. These civil rights laws were written by lawyers for lawyers. Why was that? So to help people have a better life? Well, that's what they presented it as. But it was really to help lawyers have cases that they could prosecute and get a payout. My opinion. So they cruise around looking for a pretext for a lawsuit. And they're not going to go to court 99 out of 100 times. They're going to get a settlement. So these companies say, oh, well, we got these nags, these pests. They're like lice. So what we do is we give money to the women's Progress Fund, the Black People's Success Organization, et cetera, because they just want to be able to say when they get the lawsuit, look, we have been deeply involved in all of these movements for years. So how dare you say that we are discriminating against people? So it's sad in a way because you got these companies that all they're trying to do is sell a product. But
yeah, there's a personal injury industry going on that they're constantly looking to sue these companies for anything they can drum up. And there are legitimate cases, don't get me wrong.
No, I'm not saying they're not legitimate cases, but
there are a lot of ones that aren't legitimate. They're trying to exploit, but that's the atmosphere we live in right now.
Yeah, and I think we've been living in that atmosphere from long before I was born.
The lack of personal responsibility, people don't read the labels. You know, it's always blame somebody else for something. And there's a mentality of that it's going on right now.
Right.
Blame is better to give than receive.
Right. So I don't want to get too much into a rant on that, but I always think about these things. I've been thinking about these things for years, you know, and I just think, like you're saying, it's a personal injury culture. Tort. We want a payout. I want money, and I want your money, and I'm going to claim that I was injured, but when I wasn't. Now, there's no way they can really come after this brand because it makes no claim anywhere to be handmade or to be a craft beer. It's just saying it's a brand, buy it or don't buy it. But you know, here's another example. You get on any of these beer websites, there's an age gate. It would be very simple for a 10-year-old to just type in a fake age, right?
I could put in, yeah, they were born in the 1500s, I guess, for that matter. I've never tried it.
But the company has to have that, like you said, CYA, and so they have this irritating age gate, which accomplishes virtually nothing, in my opinion.
And you also, if you buy a mix or something that's not alcoholic but is used in conjunction with alcohol, you also have to go through that same gate.
Right.
But it is they do it because they have to do it. It's an atmosphere that, you know, they're being come at from all comers, but
anyway, I'm sorry I brought that up in a way. I apologize because it kind of pulls you into it, and I shouldn't bring up those topics with people that may not want to get into it. So that was kind of off the cuff, and I apologize. And I don't apologize for what I said. I apologize for the fact that I brought it up with you in my presence. So I wouldn't want people to kind of connect you to it and say, oh, you advocate for that. William speaks for William, and Ronald J speaks for Ronald. Okay. And I think any reasonable person could understand that, but everybody is not reasonable.
Yeah, you can explore these subjects without being, I believe people can disagree without being disagreeable. I may be old fashioned, but I think that should be the case. You know, people don't have to agree on everything.
People do not have to agree on everything.
But people shouldn't be so prickly that if you say something that they don't agree with, that they automatically make it personal.
And isn't that the case today, and to a large extent?
It is. Unfortunately, that's part of the incivility of modern day life, I guess. But
well, I'm going to propose that we do agree that this is a pretty enjoyable, well-made beer.
I think most people that, especially if you like the American adjunct lagers, this is basically just another version of that. Just, you know, the Mexican part, people may be slightly thrown off by that, but these are just basically AALs. They just happen to be made by German immigrants in Mexico rather than the United States. That's the basic difference.
Right.
So I'd say give it, you know, if you're not turned off by the price point, give it a try. You may like it. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't have great expectations for this beer. I've not drank, you know, I've had Corona. I thought the Tecate was pretty good. I might even like this one a little bit better than the Tecate.
So you're expecting it to be ho-hum, but so you find that it was better than you thought it was going to be?
I liked it because there was more of a malt presence. From the very first sip, I said, you know, this is pretty good. It's got some body to it. I like to have some flavor, you know, when you get that, because, and also it's the perspective you come from. Lately, I've been drinking some light beers.
Yeah.
I had a couple leftover Rockdales from the examination in January, So I bought a Bud Light, the first Bud Light I've ever purchased. And I did a side-by-side taste test, Bud Light versus Rockdale Light. And at that time, I also had a Busch beer, which at 4.3% is darn close to a light beer, even if they don't say it is.
Right.
And after drinking those, and also during that time period, I had drank a Labatt Blue, which I think is more on the lighter scale for the AALs.
Yeah.
So drinking those, then coming to something like this, it's got more flavor. It just does. That first sip, you know, you taste that maltiness, and that's what I like about these beers. They strike a pretty good balance point.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I cannot disagree. Now you were talking about liquor, and you I felt funny because you bought the Kentucky Dale, and I had exhausted my supply of it. But I guess I could go out and try to look for some more. It's not too common here. I found it at a sort of, I don't want to say obscure corner market, but definitely not a prominent.
Here's mine.
Definitely not a
Brand
prominent.
new bottle.
Yeah.
$2.99.
I think what I bought was two. You know how they have those standard 200 milliliter bottles? I think I bought two of those, and it was $4 total. But you had to buy two. You know how they get you. If you buy one, it's $3.50. But if you buy two, it's $2 a piece.
Yeah, it makes you feel foolish if you don't get the second one, which is the whole idea of it in the first place. So you just grab the two of them.
I said, well, let me buy both. And it wasn't too great. But on the flip side, it was not bad. And, you know, some people said, oh, my goodness, what are you drinking? But that blended whiskey thing seems to have a major following. And so that's a fascinating story. And then most of those have a little history behind it, because a lot of these blended whiskeys were started by independent people, and then they were gobbled up by the big guys, right?
Right. And the bottom line is, for $3, you're getting a bottle of 40% alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, if what you want to do is get wasted, that's going to do the trick almost faster than anything. I hear, you see the websites where people drink the malt liquors. They say, well, it's only good to get you drunk. Well, I think you can like some of those malt liquors like Colt 45 and Schlitz because you actually like them. You're not looking to get drunk or drink for effect. But this right here, that'll do the trick pretty quickly.
Right. If you're looking to get drunk, why wouldn't you just go buy Kentucky?
That's right. Do the math. Get a cheap liquor. If that's what you want to get. I'm not advocating anybody go out and drink excessively.
No.
It's like drinking, some people sort of say drinking in the morning or breakfast. Well, I'm not going to drink any more during the day, whether it's morning, noon, or night. So to me, I don't, that doesn't bother me.
No.
Constraints like that artificially, because I know myself well enough that, like I said, it's going to be the same amount whether it's, any time of the day.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand pacing. If they studied horse racing or car racing, they'd understand pacing.
The bottom, you got to get to finish first. You got to finish. You got to finish first before you can win anything. And pacing is all involved in that. And
right. But if I was looking to get drunk, and I'm not ever doing that, and this is just honest. People ask me that a lot of times on beer reviews. Do you remember back in your college days when you drank to get drunk? I said no, because in fact, when I was in college, 1986 to 1989, I did not drink liquor. I never drank any alcohol, no beer, wine, or liquor. I just drank soft drinks, Coke, stuff like that, which was a mistake because that stuff is, to me, a much worse thing to drink. It's so impure. And I finally realized, now I see why I felt bad all the time. I was drinking soft drinks. And if you look at the ingredients list, it's appalling. If you look at the ingredients list on beer, wine, and liquor, it's much more amenable to a healthy lifestyle. But it's like fire. Fire is useful, but it's dangerous. So you have to be careful. And a lot of people don't have enough intelligence to drink carefully or responsibly. But I can't answer for that. But like, back to your point, what I'm saying is no, I did not do that in college, but if I was looking to get drunk, and I would not be, I would just buy the Crystal Palace gin. which is so cheap. It's made by Sazerac, and I thought it was a Louisiana only thing because I see it everywhere in Louisiana. Well, I went to West Texas. Well, there it was on the shelf, Fort Stockton, Texas, Crystal Palace Gin. I said, this is a major brand. Not necessarily good, but on the other hand, not particularly bad. I can see why people buy it. It's not bad. The only bad product that I ever bought from Sazerac was the monstrously bad Hearty brandy. Now that is something that is mind-boggling why anyone would buy it.
It's just like a shot of liquor, 1.5 ounces is the same as a 12-ounce Budweiser.
Right.
2 shots of liquor is like a 24-ounce can. So, I mean, just do the math. I mean, you're getting a bigger bang for the punch.
Right. Do the math. Do the math.
It's simple. And so I sort of laugh sometimes when people, they'll try to say bad stuff about beers, like malt liquors. Say, well, it's only want to get you drunk. Well, there are much more efficient ways than that if you want to get drunk. So
right.
Actually, there are people who might actually like those on occasion.
Right. I can
name, living under a bridge.
I can name on 2 hands, I can name malt liquors that I think are quality products. And I don't live under the Pontchartrain Expressway in New Orleans. And I think they have good flavor. But, you know, anyway, I don't want to get into all that. But you got the Old Crow, and I'm fascinated by that. I've had that Old Crow in my cabinet for 2 months now. That's the modern version, the 1987 to present modern version. I also had that bottle from 40 years ago, which is, and to close this out, I think what happened with that situation was that the Old Crow Distillery in Kentucky, which is an abandoned site today, they have fascinating photographs on the internet of somebody trespassing on the property, and he must have taken 50 photos. He said there was no gate, nothing. He just walked in the buildings, and they still had bags of grain that were sitting there, never opened for.
The Old Crow is basically the Jim Beam 4-year white label, 1 year aged less.
With a different label.
The same mash bill and the same yeast strain. So I feel like it's drinkable. And actually, I've read some pretty stuff that actually makes a pretty good mixer.
Yeah, I think what happened with Old Crow, it was an independent owned company, right? They got bought out by Jim Beam in 1987. Well, Beam looked at their production. What they found was Old Crow was using a fairly expensive production method, right? Bottled in bond, aged in new oak, charred new oak barrels. It was 100 proof, but it was sold at a cheap price point. So the profit margin was minimal, right? I guess they figured that the people buying that stuff would never notice if they did a little switcheroo, right?
And I think sometimes the human nature is to assume that the old had to be better than the new. Well, heck, it might even be better. Who knows?
I can't say because I've never tried.
Right. I'm not going to assume that it's better. I don't know. I just drink it as for what it is. If I like it, I may buy it again. If I don't like it, I won't buy it again.
Right. I've never tried the modern Old Crow, so I can't disparage it. I tried the 1977 bottle, which was fabulous, but there's no point in even talking about that because it does not exist anymore. It has not existed for 30 years. But it would be curious to do a side-by-side, and people keep clamoring for that. Do the side-by-side, do the side-by-side. I said, I'm going to. I've got so much to drink down, though. You know, it's not like beer. You know, when you're doing liquor, it's not like beer. You can't just like drink through the bottle and be done with it. You got to take a few little sips every day, you know.
It's all about the pacing again.
And the pacing, yeah, and with spirits, the pacing is extremely slow.
It is. It's proceed right. With caution. Extreme
caution. But hey, well, you know, no rush, no rush, no rush. All right, so I think this Pacifico Clara was a success. My can is empty. The alcohol effects are minimal. It's enjoyable, and I would give it 2 thumbs up. I would say if you've never tried it, go out and get it. I think you'll have a pleasant experience. It won't be overwhelming. It won't change your worldview, but you'll enjoy it.
And if you're a Corona drinker, exclusively, give this a try.
It's better than Corona. There's no doubt about that. Not
and it's no more expensive. So if you're willing to pay that premium for Corona, why not try this?
You'll get a much better experience. I think
so.
I think the international enjoyment units, that's a term I made up. I think the international enjoyment units are higher, a pretty good amount higher than the Corona Extra.
The bottom line is these companies know that people will pay extra for these beers. They call them their ethnic customers.
Right.
So if you're willing to pay that for the Corona, give this one a try.
You may never go back to Corona.
That's true.
And it won't matter to Modelo or Constellation because they're still going to get the money anyway. They don't.
Because Heineken rolled out their slim can, 8.5 ounces. They did a lot of market research. It's targeted toward the ethnic customer. They will pay that for an 8.5 ounce can. So, it's all about demographics, targeting, niche marketing. These people know what they're doing.
Right. There's no doubt about that. These are masters of marketing. In many cases, not all the time.
They have some missteps, but I think overall they have more successes than failures. I won't mention some of their missteps because I like some of the beers that they misstepped upon, but that's another story.
Right. Well, thanks for joining me, and I'm going to cut this off now. It's been almost an hour, but it's fascinating to study these brands, and people will come at me sometimes. But look, honestly, I'm more interested in the brands and their history than any kind of axe to grind with beer, different beers versus different other beers. It's just my approach. It's always been my approach. So I'm not out here for some great social achievement or you know what I mean, to affect any kind of great social change. It's just a hobby.
But it can, if it brings you pleasure, it can enhance your life in some way. Being an enthusiast, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, thanks.